So what you need to know about AI, it really is something that has a very, very good and benign side, and we're going to touch on that. It also has a side that we all remember the Terminator movies. We all remember how robots are going to take over the world and how artificial intelligence will have a mind of its own, could create all kinds of havoc. Who knows? Who knows? That is often in the future. But as you're going to see, maybe not the too distant future. So my purpose today is just to help you. Here we go. Webinar agenda. There we go. Is just to help you understand what's happening. Because if there was something scary on the horizon, and if you followed me for very long, you know that I talk about different kinds of disasters and different kinds of worst case scenarios. You want to know what's going on. So if you live in hurricane country, you need to know the dates of the hurricane season. You need to know how to prepare. You need to know an evacuation route out of town. You need to be informed. This is something that is really, really different. And I think it's a mistake to just pretend it doesn't exist, because right now, AI is impacting your life in ways that you aren't aware. Same with me. So we need to know what it is, and why you should know about it. I believe AI can be used as a useful tool, both for good and evil. I'm going to give you a ChatGPT demo and show you different ways to apply ChatGPT. And there's even an image generator that I was playing around with a little bit this morning that had some pretty amazing results. And you're going to get to see a picture of my dog generated by AI. And then we're going to spend some time about the downsides and the dangers, and then how to get started. So after all of this, as I was putting my notes together, I thought, how funny that I'm telling people just, AI can be scary. And then, hey, if you want to access it and play around with it, here you go. But that's where we are. So what is AI? I asked AI. I went to ChatGPT and I said, what is AI? Just in a very small nutshell, the very short definition is the ability of a computer or machine to mimic or emulate human-like behaviors such as learning and problem solving. And I asked another AI, and by the way, this would apply to things like you've heard of self-driving cars. They're beginning to just kind of make an appearance here and there in the news, or, right now it's more of along the lines of a science experiment than anything that is terribly practical. But if you have an Alexa, hey, Alexa, okay, Google, if you have those in your house, those are AI. Those are AI. So we're going to look today at something using it in another way. I did ask a different AI. I said, what is AI? And it said, the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. So what you see right here in this slide is, hey, Alexa. My parents love Alexa. So ChatGPT is what we're going to zero in on today, because that is taking the world by storm. And you can see here that once it was made public and it was just open, it's from a company called OpenAI. ChatGPT is just an extremely advanced chatbot. So you know what a chatbot is. You get messages on your phone with reminders, and you sign up for something and all of a sudden there's a text message say, hey, here's your coupon code for 15% off. Those are chatbots. But ChatGPT takes that to a whole different level. And look how quickly it grew. Netflix, as popular as Netflix is, it took 3.5 years before Netflix had 1 million users. ChatGPT, 5 days. I was thinking about that because I got signed up and I was, playing around with it. And then one day, repeatedly, I kept getting a message that basically they were overwhelmed. And I can imagine the people at, ChatGPT, but the parent, I guess I'll call it the parent company, OpenAI, scrambling with this incredible onslaught of new users, people who are just curious, as well as people who know what they're doing. And they get into this and they know exactly how to utilize it. As opposed to me, all I wanted was a recipe for cornbread. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I'm going to show you practical uses, as I said before. And let's make sure my arrow, oops, I need to go to my other arrow. There we go. So why learn about AI? I actually had someone email me and she was upset with me for even talking about it. And she accused me of, being part of the World Economic Forum and that I wanted people to eat bugs and that human beings were just useless eaters. So didn't know how to respond to that, frankly. But again, if you are dealing with some kind of unknown event, something that is on the horizon, it's always better to learn as much as you can. So a couple of bullet points here. Know its capabilities now in order to utilize it to your advantage. That's right. AI can become an ally if you are in certain fields where it helps you to become massively productive. And I'll give you some ideas in a few slides. Know its capabilities in order to recognize if or when you're being manipulated. Why not just ask, that answer or that information, it's a little bit too on the nose, if you know what I mean. So I think it's important for us to know what it can do before, we just kind of assume that just because we see something on social media or something is reported in what I call legacy media, and that's the mainstream media, of the big networks and so on. Are you being manipulated? Is this propaganda? Is this produced by AI when it's given certain guidelines, prompts, algorithms? If you have no idea what it even is, you're just going to be left in the dark. And then this is a biggie. Know enough to keep a watchful eye on its use by children and grandchildren. I mean, we had our kids and grandkids, didn't we, with their grubby little hands on smartphones years ago, while parents and grandparents were still plunking along with their little foldy phone, that had almost no capabilities other than text messages. And our kids, our grandkids, they were often running into a world that most parents, most adults didn't know a whole lot about. And then we started getting information and reading articles. Hey, you better watch out for these apps on your kids' phones. So how is AI going to impact the youngest generation? Not 100% sure, but it's better to know now than be caught, kind of like, oops, I had no idea that my granddaughter or my son or whatever was getting into that. So again, and I do think with the speed that this has caught on, I think we were all primed for it. We were primed because we're using smartphones, social media. Those things just kind of primed us and got us ready for like this new revolution. One author, I read an article that he wrote about it, and he said, this is like comparing it to like the discovery of fire. That is the potential impact this has across the world. And so we're seeing it by just this massive growth, as well as, some warning signs that we're going to talk about. So we're going to focus on ChatGPT. Just as we know now how social media has manipulated people. I remember a couple of years ago reading about how Facebook was just playing around literally with people's emotions by putting things in their timeline to trigger an angry response. And they could tell that you had that angry response by what you clicked on next, or by what kind of emoji you chose. And they were just a massive, massive experiment on, millions of human beings. So we know that social media can be used for extreme manipulation, extreme illegal actions. Actually, if you want to, dig down into it and say, hey, would that be okay if I did that? And chances are the answer would be no. So the genie, though, is out of the bottle. One thing I've learned, and maybe this is something to just make a note of, time only ever flows in one direction. And when we think about COVID, and we wish so much that genie, if you want to call it a genie, that rat lab rat could be put back in the bottle, it can't. COVID, the quarantine, the mask/vaccine debates, et cetera, that changed our world forever. So if we say now that AI is the genie out of the bottle, like it or not, it's here to stay. And it will probably save lives. When you think about the potential of this, how it can absorb more information than any human being or any group of human beings ever could. And it could just take in, let's just say breast cancer, for example. It can take in every study. It can compare them against each other. It can look at what is, being researched right now and standard treatments and alternative treatments. What could it produce for us? Medical miracles. This is a tweet that I just happened to find regarding brain scans that were taken of stroke victims. So cures for cancer, medical miracles. I really do believe that AI is being used right now for some very positive things, just for humanity in a lot of different ways. There's a dark side, of course. We'll get to that. I know that the U.S. military is using it, and if our U.S. military is using it, then of course militaries in other countries are using it as well. At the very end, I'm going to have an interesting quote from Putin about his own view. And he's an old guy, isn't he? He's a really old man. What, 70s, 80s? I don't even know, but he's old. And even 5 years ago, when he made a statement to a group of school children, he had a good handle on the potential of AI. So let me see. Right here, I'm going to take a break. And I want to, not really a break, but I'm going to do a new share with you to just give you a glimpse of what AI can do, and then how far advanced some of our kids are. So you should be seeing now, please let me know over in Q&A. Are you seeing what looks to be a teenage boy in a hoodie? And as soon as I click play, you're going to see him. Are you seeing that? I'm looking over. Let's see. Okay, so you all see the teenage boy in the hoodie. Watch what this very young boy can do. And I'm going to make sure you should be able to hear the sound. Okay, if you don't hear the sound, let me know.
Might have just figured out one of the easiest ways to make money right now. First, go to this website called ChatGPT and type in script a 1,500 word YouTube video about, whatever topic you want. Within seconds, this free AI bot will script a full YouTube video about whatever you told it to. When it's done, just copy this whole script and go to Pictory.ai and press script to video. Paste in your whole script. This will turn your whole script into videos of whatever you're talking about. Then go to Synthesia.io and choose one of their characters that they have. Again, paste in your whole script. This will make a guy read your script with a real sounding voice, his lips moving and everything. Then just use the free editing software to take this video and put it over top of this video. Then go to Upwork or Fiverr and pay someone like $5 to design a thumbnail for that video. Then just post that video to YouTube and you can make money when the video gets views. And to speed this all up, you can go to Upwork and just hire virtual assistants for like $4 an hour to do all this for you. I've never seen somebody try this before, so you'll probably be the first if you do. Follow for more ways to make money.
By all means, follow for more ways to make money. But you saw how that kid already has a handle on the potential. So speaking about I'm going to get to the live demos in just a moment, but I just view AI as a tool. And just as those of us who, own firearms, we train with firearms, whenever we read about more gun control laws, more gun control restrictions, what do we say? Well, we say, a firearm, a gun, it's a tool. And in the hands of, let's say, a young teenage girl who is being stalked and threatened and has a restraining order out on someone, that handgun may very well save her life. But again, we know that in the hands of the wrong person, a handgun can take innocent lives. So it really is depending on who is using it and what they're using it for. So when we think about it, that's how I'm viewing AI and ChatGPT and the other tools that we'll talk about. So a quick overview of the capabilities. There is actually a much longer list than this, And I looked and looked and looked on on the AI. Let's see. Hold on a second. I think I just clicked on something wrong. There we go. It can do all kinds of things. It can write poetry. It can write jokes. It can write scripts. Give it enough prompts and it can write a novel. So you see over here in examples, explain quantum computing in simple terms. One person I read, whenever he wants something complicated, he says, and explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. And it can, and it will. I'll show you. Got any creative ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday? How do I make an HTTP request in JavaScript? You can read here the capabilities, but also the limitations. And it has more limitations and far more capabilities than this. I've seen on Twitter people using it to create, borderline pornographic images. And so here it's trained to decline inappropriate requests. You know, someone was, saying, hey, I think I found a workaround, to create, pornography. Well, bully for you, because if there's one thing the world definitely needs, it's more pornography. Sarcasm there, by the way. So let us then look. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Google. I'm using a new business application, first time ever, but it's working out well so far. So we're going to be switching over now to my other computer, and this time I'm going to just be showing you live. Screen number 1. I'm going to show you live how I'm going to be using this.
I might have just figured out ways to make money right now.
I'm done with you. All right. So when I first started playing around with ChatGPT, I right away, as a former teacher, saw the potential of students using it in their classrooms. And so I came up with the idea. I wanted to see, could it create some kind of a pretty simple scientific essay on photosynthesis, okay? And you should now see my ChatGPT, I hope. So now watch as I'm just going to hit play. And I'm asking for it to write this paper, this essay, using university level vocabulary. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants and some other organisms use sunlight to synthesize food from carbon dioxide and water. And I'm even getting a chemical equation for photosynthesis. That looks pretty impressive, And I would think that it would be difficult for a professor, a teacher, especially if someone went in and they were smart enough to go in and tweak this, and maybe put in a certain, maybe even make some mistakes on purpose, or you put in a personal anecdote, or, this reminds me of, and then they put in, some kind of a, something to make it more personalized, as well as making sure that it aligns with all the requirements that the teacher asked. Now that is just from one simple prompt. But now the next thing I wanted to try was, what if I ask it to explain photosynthesis to a 2nd grade student who's 7 years old? And let's compare the difference. Photosynthesis is the process that plants use to make food. They use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to make energy and oxygen. Without photosynthesis, we wouldn't have any plants or oxygen to breathe, exclamation mark. I'm going to tell it now to write it in pirate speech. Our photosynthesis be the process that helps plant turn sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide into yummy glucose and oxygen. You can do all kinds of things. You can ask it to write this in another language. You can ask it to write it at varying grade levels, include more, data points, if you want more math or more equations, more statistics, and it can do that. So that is one of the very first things I ever tried, because I was a teacher and I thought, well, kids are using this. So a couple of things about using this for your own purposes. The more specific your prompt, the better the result is going to be. So you might want to go back to one of these and say, I'd like a 500-word essay, or I would like it to be X number of paragraphs. Give it the level of vocabulary. Be very, very specific. And what you can do on any of these results here regarding photosynthesis or any other topic is just to continually refine it. So let's say you go back and you're a high school student and you look at the requirements your teacher gave you, and you realize, oh my goodness, I needed to include some data about blah, blah, blah. Well, you can go in and say, rewrite that and add this data, and you will get it just like to order. How accurate is this? It's pretty interesting. I used a prompt, something like, tell me about Lisa Bedford, the survival mom. The first paragraph was okay. The second paragraph claimed that I had written several books. I've only written 2. And the titles of the books were completely wrong. So even if a student was going to be using this in a classroom setting, still it is not necessarily 100% correct. So there are a number of drawbacks and a number of reasons why you might not want to just take it, copy paste, and then submit it as an assignment. So just a word to the wise there. The next thing I wondered was, how could a teacher tell? I'm going to copy this over. How can a teacher tell? I'm going to change this just a little bit. How can a teacher tell if AI wrote an assignment versus the student? Let's see what it says. There are a few ways that a teacher can tell if an assignment was written by an AI or by a student. And we're going to be getting a numbered list there. So one of the questions that was submitted was, if I'm a teacher, how am I supposed to tell? And what kind of rules can I have? So interestingly, my next question here was, list rules for students regarding the use of AI on their assignments. This was interesting. Okay. So we know that it says what plagiarism is and inconsistencies, but what does AI say the rules should be with using AI in a classroom setting? Follow the schools and teachers' guidelines, cite sources correctly, use AI as a tool, not a replacement. So this, by the way, is it's unique, and it's generated just here for this purpose. So what you're reading here is original. And that is why I think people who own websites, my blog, anything at all, you're reading a sales page, you're thinking about buying, a certain kind of piece of hardware, for example. AI has got to be part of that mix. It's going to make businesses and individuals productive, maybe by 10 times or more. So here we have rules: don't plagiarize. It defines what plagiarism is, etc. So far, that's so good. So far, so good. Now, I have 4 questions that some of you submitted to me. And just for fun, I'm going to start a new chat over here. And I want to tell you how grateful I am that right now, ChatGPT is not overwhelmed. About 2 or 3 hours ago, I was kind of playing around and putting some of these prompts in and practicing with other prompts. And I got error messages. I don't even know what it was. We're overwhelmed right now. Try again later. So I'm grateful that it's working the way it says. So someone asked, it was a teacher, Wendy, please configure the chatbot to compose a 5-paragraph essay, very specific, written at the 6th grade level, explaining the influence of the inventions of Benjamin Franklin on modern day technology with MLA citations. Oh, all right. I think what happened here, give me just a second. I may have to log in again. This was just sitting there. What I found, here we go, let's try again, is that sometimes if it sits there too long, or it could be that it's overwhelmed. Nope, here we go. Certainly, here's a 5-paragraph essay explaining the influence of the inventions of Benjamin Franklin. Okay, let's watch and see what it does. So this AI, and there are others like it online. This one I think is probably the most user-friendly from what I have read. It is not male or female. People will sometimes refer to it as him. It's not male or female. It doesn't have any kind of emotion yet. And it only knows what has been fed into it. One of the downsides is that you never know where this information is coming from. Here comes the MLA citation. That's pretty impressive. I hope the teacher, Wendy, is in on this call, or at least she watches the replay of this, because that is very impressive. Another question that I got from one of you readers: what is the best way to make sugar from homegrown sugar beets? And here comes the answer. I have 2 more of these questions that I picked out. I would recommend that if you're asking it for instructions like this, you might want to look at the instructions that you're getting from AI, ChatGPT, and then compare it. Compare it with what you're reading online and your resource books and so on, just to make sure that you aren't going to try something here that is just disastrous. Because here, we don't know exactly where this comes from. I mean, it could be a compilation of many different sources. So you're going to wash the beets, you're going to peel the beets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's really going into detail, isn't it? So from here, we can tell that there is not a whole lot it can't answer. But it can't answer questions like, is there a God? It can't answer questions about like values. If you asked it, hey, what about this or that? Gina asked me, did I happen to ask to cite its own sources? Yes. And it told me that it cannot do that, it cannot go out into the internet and find stuff. That's not the way it works. So it's not going and putting in keywords like you and I would, or put, some kind of a question into Google, and now it's going to, go out and seek out the information. The information's already there. Here's one thing to keep in mind, and it is, oh my gosh, what I was going to tell you is gone. But it's so friendly. It says, I hope this helps, exclamation mark. But so it doesn't like do its own research. Right here on the ChatGPT, there was a slide that said quick overview, limited knowledge of world and events after 2021. So they have been working on putting this together, building this whole entire massive project. It's going to catch up with what is events in the last year and a half or so gradually. And then also the more people that use it, the more it learns. So I don't know if this is creepier or on the level of creepiness, I don't know where this stands, but it's constantly learning. It's constantly learning. One more question, and that is there a way to soften water without electricity? And now, I don't remember, I think someone named Tom asked this question. There are a few ways to soften water without using electricity. Here are a few options. And I think Tom had some concerns about what his water filtration system, I think he has a Sawyer maybe. Reverse osmosis system. I'm going to put one more reader's question. And this one was really interesting because it's from a woman who is looking for a spare part for a glass carafe for her Hamilton, is it a blender? One more question. Yeah. She wants a replacement glass carafe for her Hamilton Beach Proctor Silex blender model, and she gives us the blender model number. I apologize, but I'm unable to browse the internet and therefore cannot help you. However, you may be able to find a replacement glass carafe, and it gives some suggestions here. I recommend double checking the model number of your blender to ensure you're purchasing the correct carafe. All of this is well and good, and I have used it in some, I'm going to go back to a new share here. In some ways, and you are screen sharing. Let me stop my share, and then let me go back to my slides. So business applications, if you are running a business, there are many, we've covered a lot that are just kind of miscellaneous knowledge. You can look up recipes, you can look up all kinds of things. In just a moment, I'm going to compare doing a Google search with this Chat GPT search. You can see that this is just very, very efficient if you're getting the right information. But I found that it saved me a lot of time, and I'll tell you how and why in just a minute. The business applications, any field at all that uses or produces written work can benefit from this. So if you are putting together employee manuals, or there are manuals for office equipment, you're trying to sell something, you're trying to attract customers. I have an interesting little app that I use. It's installed on my computer, and it is called WordTune, because every once in a while when I'm writing something, I just get stuck, and I'll write a sentence and it's like, that's just not right. It's really awkward. I highlight the sentence, I click on the little icon for WordTune, and that AI bot gives me 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences that mean the same thing, but they're worded differently. And that helps me a lot. Just, I don't get stuck when I'm writing and trying to think of another way to say this or other words. The more productive someone is or a company is, the more clients, more customers, more money. I watched a webinar a couple of weeks ago by a gentleman who is at the top of his field in marketing. And he has been using Chat GPT. And he said, when I read what it writes, it really is very good. Is it on par with what he writes after, I don't even know, 30 or 40 years in marketing? I don't know. I mean, he would have to answer that, or maybe take it on a case-by-case basis. But it really can be just and provide excellent quality writing. It can outline and write articles, books, white papers, manuals. Wouldn't that be handy? If you needed to write an article on some topic, let's say a gardening topic, and you go to Chat GPT and you say, give me an outline, provide an outline for when to prune plants after a deep freeze. And you get bullet points. And then from there on, I guess you could ask it to write the entire article and then decide how you might want to personalize it or whatever. But you can also just use the outline and you can tweak it or whatever. It can produce simple legal documents. I asked it to produce a non-disclosure agreement. There could be a time in the very, very near future where there's no reason even for LegalZoom, much less an attorney. If all you need is just something just very, very simple, just some kind of an agreement between parties, or we're going to sell a used car, to my neighbor, and I just need a simple contract, and it can generate that. Generate ideas for presentations, products. Really, it's a fantastic tool for generating ideas. So my husband, in one of his roles, he is like the safety czar for his company. And once a week, he has to present a safety slide. And every Monday night, like clockwork, I'll hear him say, oh, I've got to get my safety slide ready for tomorrow. So what we did, when I first started playing around with this, we went to Chat GPT and said, give us 52 safety topics for a large corporation. And within seconds, we had 50 topics. Then we said, give us 50, again, top safety topics that are seasonal in nature. And then we started getting things about, pipes freezing and Christmas trees not catching on fire. And he ended up with like 150 potential topics, and he'll pick the ones out, according to the time of year or whatever, and turn those into his, weekly safety slide. Probably AI could do the slides too. But it was just really helpful for him, instead of having to think every single week, what's it going to be? Bee stings, what's it going to be? He has now a huge pool of ideas just to go through, and then he makes a decision and goes from there. And then you saw just earlier that young man explaining how to make a video. It can create a video from concept to script writing to even AI generated characters who do the talking for you. So if you've wanted to make money on YouTube, maybe here's your chance using AI. It is a little bit maybe unsettling to think that even now, can we believe what our eyes are showing us? So for many years from the beginning, I have told people, trust your own eyes and ears. So, if the authorities say, don't worry about the flood water, don't worry about this, everything's under control, the power outage is just, short-lived. Well, if you're looking around and you're thinking, that doesn't really line up with what I'm seeing. But with AI, if it's something that comes to you on a screen or via text or emails, what can you believe? I have some thoughts on that we'll get to in a little bit. But creating the videos really is, that's something that I have not tried yet. So Google versus ChatGPT. Oh, let me go back to this just one about the business. Yeah, business applications. There's a company called NVIDIA, and they've created a new AI-powered tool that sharpens blurry images. And I believe I have actually seen that online. You can upload a video, you can upload a photo, and you put it through their tool, and it just sharpens it as though, maybe a very old family photo taken in the 60s or 70s or much older than that. And it just kind of sharpens the images or sharpens the videos. And then, my note here regarding the YouTube videos, what holds a lot of people back from making YouTube videos about something they know or skills they have is just thinking about the cameras and special lighting and the props and having to write everything out and then practice it. This, for good or bad, could really make that a whole lot easier for a lot of people. So downsides. Oh, no. I was going to go with the Google next. So how does it compare with Google? About 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and this is one of the links I'm going to be sending to you in a follow-up email. I have about a dozen links to articles that have more background information and more information for you if you're interested. But one of them was that Google had some kind of all hands on deck, red flag warning, big company-wide meeting, because all of a sudden ChatGPT versus Google. I mean, with ChatGPT, you get a very clean cut response. With Google, you have to wade through ads, you have to wade through photos, and that brings me to my cornbread story. I'm going to do a Google search real quick. Cornbread recipe with little sugar. Okay, I don't really like. I like the more savory ones. So I'm going to switch over here to Google now. And okay, you should see the Google screen. So cornbread recipe with just a little sugar for a 9 by 13 pan. Let's see what I get. I was having to make cornbread for a church potluck and didn't really have a recipe handy or any kind of a favorite recipe. So right away, about 71,700 results. All right, that's a lot. Classic buttermilk cornbread. I know right away I don't have buttermilk. So I'm scrolling through. Here are the little questions. Do you have to add sugar? And I'm just thinking to myself, I just want the recipe. And I'm scrolling, and everyone I have to do this is no sugar. Restless Chipotle, is that the one I want? I spent about 15 minutes at least trying to find the recipe that I wanted. And with all of the ads and the photos, et cetera, it was like, that's just a lot. It was very time consuming. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if I can get that same prompt. So I can just copy and paste it. And it's not going to give it to me. Oh, wait, there we go. No, sorry. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. Corn. I'm on my laptop now. Cornbread recipe with little sugar for 9 by 13 pan. And let's see what I get. Now, you may like going through all of those recipes with the photos and the videos and checking it out. But sometimes there are cases where you just want a cut and dried answer. And I don't want to have to look through all the ads by Google, ad by Google, ad by Google. And then I'm going through all of these, photos, or I just want a quick answer. So here you can see that I'm getting one that has cornmeal, flour, a tablespoon of sugar. That's kind of what I was looking for. And there we go. Now, I don't know if that's any good. I actually had asked before a recipe that has at least 100 5-star ratings. And that is a way that maybe you could refine that prompt even more. But sure enough, I got a recipe for whatever that's worth. So one of the values it has over Google is that you don't have to wade through the ads, the photos, the videos. The downside is that I don't know where this recipe comes from. I don't know if it's any good or not. I'm tempted to give it a try, and I might. And again, Google is extremely nervous about this. And even as we speak, they are working to come up with their own public version of a ChatGPT. So we don't all abandon the Google ship, because for Google is the #1 search engine in the world. And that means immense power to them. And just like an immeasurable amount of money, power and money. What more could they ask? They're not going to go down quietly and just turn all this over to ChatGPT, that little upstart. Okay, so I wanted to do something before I get to blessing to humanity or a curse. How can you not be interested in something like that? I want to do one more share, and this is the one that I told you was, let's see, screen one, there we go. Using this here. DALL-E is, I want to make sure, can you see the video screen now that says DALL-E up at the top? So this is OpenAI's, Stephanie, yes, there's a replay available. This is a image generator, and you can ask it to generate a photo, a cartoon image, a painting, all kinds of images. And I have a comment here that says, John says, from an artist's point of view, this is a nightmare, as AI can violate copyrights very easily. Yes, on social media, artists of all kinds are very, very upset about this. So let me show you what this can do and what it can generate. And I'm assuming you can all see this as a the DALL-E. When we did a DNA test on our little dog, we discovered she was 56% Chihuahua, 19% Husky, 17% Pomeranian, and 8% Rat Terrier. So I asked DALL-E to create an image. And I'm going to ask, instead of just an image, because if I say image, I could get something that looks like a painting or a cartoon or whatever. I want it to create a photo, and I'm assuming I am sharing this screen correctly, of a small black dog that has her genetic makeup. And here we go. Again, just like the text prompt that we've been looking at, the ChatGPT, this is, these are all just computer generated. I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to, and then I'm going to show you a picture of my dog. Okay, this is what there's a little heavy on the Chihuahua. The first time I did this is what I ended up with, this third photo here that you can see. I compared it, and there's my dog. Interesting. I can go back. In fact, I played around with it a little bit with, let me do this, with white on muzzle. generate. Let's see what I get this time around. It was pretty impressive. I mean, there are days when she kind of looks like that second image. And again, there she is. So now I want to, in just a moment, I'm going to show you how you can access the image generator as well as the ChatGPT and how you can sign up. All right. And I'm not I should be a salesperson maybe, but I'm not. So it's not like this is an affiliate thing at all. I'm going to now switch back. Michael says, I'm a university professor. If students start using this, how can I prove they wrote a paper with AI? Michael, I did read, and I don't know how on earth this would be implemented, but a way for ChatGPT, for example, maybe to have a watermark. That's, you know what, it's really going, it's going to cause a big upheaval in education at all levels, But teachers can use it, professors can use it to write test questions, maybe to grade. You know, you copy and paste, you know, some kids' essay into ChatGPT and, rate, use this, what is it called? Kind of like a matrix, use this matrix, to score this paper. So it might work both ways. But I was in education for a lot of years as a classroom teacher, as a trainer, and education has not changed a whole lot since it was public education, since it was first became a thing, how many decades and generations ago. So maybe this is something that will cause people to, educators, parents, to think, well, then how do I really find out what this student actually knows? What did they actually learn? The downside, and this is in my notes, it's coming up, the downside is, what is this going to do to creativity? So John mentioned the whole issue with, artists. Well, if someone can come along and they can put in all kinds of prompts and end up with something just beautiful, man, that's a painting I'd love to have on my wall, for example. Or that's a photograph of Yosemite. It's amazing. It's the best one I've ever seen. AI produced. What does that do to, to creativity? So I think that those are questions and challenges that probably, especially in the field of education, it's about time they were answered. Now, right now, you should be seeing a slide that says blessing to humanity or a curse. I couldn't help myself with this one. So let me get notes. Yeah, so you've seen how it can be used in beneficial ways, possibly medical miracles. That's what I'm hoping for. I think, just in the big scheme of things, if you step back, this is an incredible tool. It has the potential to be an incredible tool, beneficial. And I feel like humanity deserves, some kind of a tool, some kind of a miracle, really. You think about people who are, young children that have type 1 diabetes or, just some of the diseases that people have suffered from for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And what if this, because of its incredible abilities, could put stuff together and, if not come up with the solution itself, give scientists and researchers, doctors, and so on, a more clear path to follow, as they seek out treatments and medications and so on. So, I have for you now a quote from AI. Here we go. I broke it into 3 parts. As an AI language model, fancy chatbot, I do not have access to external sources of information and do not have the ability to browse the internet. So if you were wondering, where does the research come from? Where do the answers come from? It is just part of the AI. And as it expands, I guess you can just, we have all seen, maybe under a microscope, something a little tiny just grows exponentially. That is, I'm sure, what's happening here with AI. I can only provide information based on what I have been trained on, which includes a wide range of publicly available texts. So we're finding out here what the limits are. And If you have a specific question or topic that you would like to know more about, I can do my best to provide a helpful and accurate response based on the information that I've been trained on. So it is limited. And then we come to some dangers with that. Inaccurate information. You would not want your doctor to type something in to ChatGPT, or maybe in the very near future, a medical based AI. That would be interesting. And have your doctor prescribe something for you, a treatment, surgery, whatever, based on inaccurate information. So you will always have to be aware of that. And Michael, maybe a simple way is to maybe just to kind of think, is there a way I could spring a trap in my writing assignment? That if they use AI, they're going to fall into that trap and they're going to give me this wrong piece of information. I don't know. Danger, it is constantly learning, but that includes biased, purposeful misinformation. And there's someone, Brian Chang, he was testing to see, is there any particular political leaning with ChatGPT? And he asked it a few questions, and you could see that, yeah, it had been trained in a certain direction with the responses that it gave. It's now being used to manipulate thoughts and actions. It may already be too late to recognize it in action. So if you're seeing something on TV, if you're seeing a news story and it's showing an attack someplace, are you really seeing that? Remember in the early days with the Russia-Ukraine war, and there was, a story that just went viral, and it was this pilot, this Ukrainian pilot that was like a superhuman, and he shot down, I don't even know how many dozens of Russian planes, and it turned out it was fake. Totally, totally fake. I think maybe it was from a video game, all right? But how many people to this day still believe that? So if AI can be used to generate something that looks so real, I saw it happen. I saw it on TV. Ugh. It's good to know that that possibility is there. And then remember when Facebook was using and kind of playing tricks on people to generate anger in their responses. As you're reading through social media, if you're reading through Twitter, you're watching the news, whatever the news source is, and your emotions are getting stirred up. Is what you're seeing real? I mean, are they using maybe AI generated words or images? How much of it is real? Right now, AI is pretty much unregulated. In about a little over a year right now, the EU is working on some pretty severe restrictions because, we all have to be kept safe and sound, right? We cannot be trusted with something like this. And so, the powers that be will find ways to, for them to have control over it and for them to use it however they see fit, but no one else. I have opinions about that. Going over here again, beware of dangers. And then, of course, I remember a couple of years ago, Elon Musk saying that he has been, neck deep in AI from the beginning. I think he was one of maybe the original founders or something of OpenAI. I don't know if how active he still is. And this is what he had to say, a month ago. ChatGPT is scary good. And a couple of years ago, I remember him saying how dangerous AI could be. And then I found this, and I did a search for it, but it was because I don't think that this is out of the realm of possibility. I went ahead and just threw it out there because I think that a lot of us, as we're thinking about the negative potentials, is this so far out there that it could never happen? I don't know. One of the articles that I'm going to give you a link for talks about this kind of thing. And we are on the downhill slope for this. I mean, on its own or with prompts, people who know what they're doing and they know how to use AI for their purposes, could it convince a country's population to demand that their government take military action or become more aggressive against a certain country or a certain entity just based on what AI is generating. I don't think, if you think about the movies we've watched, a number of years ago, I think it was the New York Times, put out an article about the CIA's influence on Hollywood and the movies that come out of Hollywood. So now every time I see something, it's like, did the CIA have something to do with this particular movie and an input to frame an event or frame a person a certain way? But I don't think it's impossible. So back in 2017, this is what Vladimir Putin, I'll let you read it, told a group of school children. As I mentioned before, he's not young, but he definitely has a handle on the potential of AI. And by the way, this quote comes from that article about potential geopolitical dangers with AI. And you'll get that link. I have about maybe 10 links for you that you'll be getting in an email. Well, after all of that, did it occur to you that maybe OpenAI, ChatGPT could be a Trojan horse? It comes in, it's amazing. Wow, look at that Trojan horse. And what is it bringing with us? I don't know. Personally, I'm tending to look at it as a tool. Is it something that can make me personally more productive? Can it improve what I do with my website, Survival Mom Sisterhood? I don't know. If you're Survival Mom Sisterhood, I have not been using this on you. Remember, I've not been using this on you. Just kind of playing around and seeing. You may decide like you want no part of this. For many, many years, I didn't want an Alexa. I didn't want a Google, okay, Google. I didn't want Siri. We were given an Alexa with a little video screen so we can talk to my mother-in-law in Arizona. But we didn't have anything to do with those kinds of applications for many, many years. So you'll just have to decide, is this something, is it fun to play around with the images? When you go to the openai.com and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see ChatGPT listed, you'll see DALL-E listed, and you'll see something called Whisper. And Whisper is a voice generator. And that's kind of interesting as well. Here's the website where you can register for a free account, Trojan horse, free account with chat.openai.com. They are free. At some point, they'll be charging money for it. But if you want to just play around with it and see what it can do, John, you might just want to go in and, what could it, what could it do? If you put a piece of your own art in there, you can upload photos and it can generate, one site. I'll give the site to you. Lensa, Lensa-AI, Lensa AI. You can upload a photo and it generates something like 60 different kinds of images for you. But there's Chat OpenAI. So I'm comparing it with the early days of social media. So initially, Facebook was just like amazing. You could connect with high school friends. You could track down old relatives. You could use it for all kinds of, genealogy groups or travel groups, cooking groups, whatever. And then we found out that Facebook was actually using it for nefarious means, without ever telling anybody. And I know there are lawsuits against Facebook for not informing its users exactly what they're doing with the information. Remember, nothing's free. We think that Google is free. We think Facebook is free. No, if it was free, those companies would be bankrupt instead of being the multi-billion-dollar companies that they are. But this is how you get started. I wanted to give you just a really well-rounded view of this with truly the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And personally, I'll explore using it, how I can use it as a tool.